Hi, everybody. So today I'm going to be talking about how people report being relaxed or stressed using social media, particularly by analyzing data from Twitter. And this is joint work with my mentor, Son Doan, who I thank for all the great feedback he's given me. So first, let's talk about some basic facts about stress. I'm sure most of you are aware that people experience a great deal of stress at least some point in their life, probably more than once. There was a recent survey just done by NPR, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the Harvard School of Public Health that found that just within 1 year, 49% of the people who were surveyed reported being stressed. And those that were surveyed that said they were in poor health also reported having this correlation of having a great deal of stress just within the last month. And 54% of them who said that they experienced a great deal of stress reported that this was mainly due to having too many responsibilities and also due to finances. And just commuting to work was seen as a daily stressful activity. So there's a lot of stress going on in the world. And it can have a lot of negative impacts on different aspects of people's lives. So these people reported having negative impact on their family life, their health, their work life, and also their regular social life. So given that stress is an important health concern, we need to know how to identify the aspects of stress appropriately before we start our project. So we first need to know, where is the stress coming from? What are the causes of stress? Can it be due to work or finances and so on? And also, how does stress manifest itself? So there's psychological and emotional symptoms like being depressed, having bad anxiety, also being worried. There's behavioral symptoms like putting things off to the last minute, also smoking and undereating or overeating. And finally, there's physical symptoms where people have experienced bad headaches, ulcers, and even chest pains and other things as well. And lastly, there's ways to treat stress. So some people undergo positive ways to treat it, and some people undergo negative ways to treat it. So positively, you can relax. You can exercise. You can spend time with your loved ones. Negatively, people engage in health habits that are bad health habits, such as drinking too much, also starting smoking. So given this information about stress, how can we use social media to identify health concerns related to stress? So the first question we have is there any populations that engage in positive or negative treatments for their stress, and if so, who are they and how can we help them? In a similar vein, we want to know if there are areas of the healthcare system that might be able to be improved upon to help patients dealing with particular types of stress. And for those people who report doing a lot of relaxing activities, can these relaxing activities be translated as different treatments for people that undergo a great deal of stress? So the way that we started this project was first collecting an initial data set. The first step was to find user-defined topics related to being stressed and relaxed, basically using the hashtags. And then once we collected all those tweets, we got the same number from a 1% random sample from the Twitter stream using a keyword search of either stress or relax. And so we had a total of 1,326 stress tweets and 782 relax tweets. And we developed a schema to tackle this problem and are in the progress of finishing our annotation guidelines. And this work is based on previous social media and health work, and also health-related information, particularly about stress. And we manually annotated this initial data set to have a gold standard. And this will make more sense when I show you the schema. So here's the schema that we used for stress. So first of all, we had a stress classifier that had our group of tweets and tried to separate them into between non-stress and stress tweets. So here's a negative example of something we wouldn't really consider as being really stressful. So someone's talking about playing the game Candy Crush on their phone, and they think it's really stressful, but obviously this is not something we're concerned about for like something higher up for health reasons. And then for the second classifier, we wanted to separate the tweets that were about stress into firsthand experience and other tweets. So we really only care about what the people are talking about themselves. We don't really care about advertisements or news articles. So here's an example of something that's not firsthand. So this is someone talking about Skype therapy that can treat stress, so we're not really interested in that. And then we divided everything up into the three aspects of stress: symptoms, topics, or causes, and also treatments or actions taken. And we also have this none category because sometimes people talked about stress, but they didn't really say how or why or give many other reasons besides just saying I'm stressed. So here's an example for the symptoms of psychological emotional. So someone's talking about having nightmares. For the physical symptoms, someone's talking about having chest pains. For the behavioral symptoms, someone's thinking about going on an eating binge. And then for the topic or causes of stress, I'm not going to talk about all of them because we don't have enough time, but here's an example about school, someone having a lot of quizzes and essays and regular school stuff. And then I have this temporal category I came up with that basically is more of an abstract category and captures responsibilities, decision-making, changes, time limitations. So this particular example is about someone being really stressed out about having a short time to do something. And then for the actions taken or treatments, there's a positive example of someone exercising and a negative example of someone feeling the urge to pick up smoking. And now for the relaxed schema, it's pretty much the same. The first two classifiers are in a similar vein as the stress schema. This time we have different topics for first-hand experience. And these were, I forgot to say that these were all came up with based on important topics and also what was most talked about in our initial data set. So here's an example for drugs and alcohol. So someone's talking about using morphine to relax, which is kind of scary. And then there's this abstract category I came up with called water. And also these tweets are not mutually, the categories aren't mutually exclusive, so they can belong to one or more categories. So this water category, it seems that there were a lot of tweets about people relaxing via something about water, like taking a shower, a bath, or being at the beach or by the lake, or listening to the rain. So I came up with this interesting category to explore more. And here's some examples of that. And then there's this rest category, basically about taking time off or vacation or just being at home. So this person's just talking about how it's nice to take a break. Okay, so those are the schemas, and now I'm going to move on to the classification results. So we had the goal of classifying the stress and non-stress tweets and also classifying between the relaxed and non-relaxed tweets. So we used the initial data set. So again, we had 1,326 stress tweets and 782 relaxed tweets, and we used a 10-fold cross-validation evaluation. And we actually had extremely high accuracy with the SVM classifier. So we are going to be using this, and I'll talk about it in a future data set we're applying it to. And then also some linguistic analysis. So this is where we're kind of developing our annotation guidelines right now. For the stress data set, we actually found that 20% of the tweets were in this none category. So a lot of people are talking about stress but not really saying how they're stressed or why they're stressed or what they're doing about it. So that's pretty interesting. And also, we still want this information because we want to know what kind of populations report being stressed, but there's still a lot of information they're not giving us. And then we found that for the topic category, the largest one was school. So this might imply that the largest population talking about stress could be young adults in this arena. And for the relaxed data set, we found that 20% of them fell into this interesting abstract water category, which I kind of talked about a little bit earlier, and 6% of them fell into this drugs and alcohol category. And we can compare this to 4% that fell into this category for the negative action taken in the stress data set. So this is interesting because it shows a similar proportion across the data sets, and there might be this similar population that is dealing with stress in a negative way that we want to reach. So if we can, we just got a new data set on U.S. cities, and they were picked by their stress ranking in the U.S. So this was based on a 2012 Gallup poll. But we see that San Diego is actually the number 5th stress city, which I thought was interesting. And there were several million tweets per city. And first what we did was we used a keyword-based search to just find any tweets that had a mention of stress or relax in them. And then we applied the SVM classifier that I talked about earlier to figure out which were relaxed and which were actually stress tweets. This is an estimation. We haven't gone back and actually checked like how correct it is, but it's probably, it looks pretty good. And then we have the proportion here of the tweets found by the classifier divided by the complete data set. So if we look at the results, we see that of the proportion, we see that stress is talked about 2 times more than relaxing, and San Diego actually appears to have more stress tweets than LA and San Francisco. That's pretty interesting because LA is actually supposed to be a more stressed city than San Diego, so that's going to be interesting to look into. And then if we compare New York City and San Diego, we see that New York talks a lot about work, and San Diego talks more about school and finals. So that's also pretty interesting. And then if we look at the relaxed tweets, we see that New York is more about being at home. The watch frequency distribution kind of represents entertainment, like watching TV or watching a movie. And San Diego actually talks more about the beach, and also they talked about watch as well. So, anyways, so to summarize, I talked about the schema we developed in the annotation guidelines, and the automatic classifier that we've been using and are going to improve upon for the stress and relaxed tweets. And we applied this to the USD's data set. And what we want to do is finish this work that we're doing and submit it to a journal. Thank you very much.
This is really interesting and focused work. I always have this fundamental question, which is about whether the social media really a reliable source of identifying some psycho-emotional problems that really require intervention. Do you happen to know any studies in depth to see whether the treatment disease or facing the disease really reflects the psycho-emotional problems?
Yeah, there's actually been, it depends on what the problem is. There's actually been a lot of different papers like that. There's a recent paper about different groups of people who experience like a similar disease like Alzheimer's and how they relate with one another and how that might be an effective treatment. There's a lot of stuff on tobacco actually, and seeing like who's smoking. So this is more about trying to figure out like what kind of population is stressed or what kind of population is reporting it on social media, because of course you have that bias of who's actually using social media and how you can reach that specific population. Mm-hmm.
When you were looking at these tweets, were you able to determine any sort of intent versus consequence as far as like the relaxation or stress from these actions? For example, the morphine tweet. I would imagine that somebody may be taking morphine for another reason, and then they're saying, wow, it worked, I feel relaxed now. But it's not that they're saying, I'm stressed, I need to take some morphine.
Yeah, so the relaxed tweets don't necessarily imply that they were stressed before, but some of them do. So some of them say like, oh, I'm just getting off work now, can't wait to go home and watch my favorite show. So there's that issue as well.